What's going on, guys? Matt DeBary, DawgPost.com here again with another recruiting edition for you guys. It's Wednesday morning. Lots to talk about. I definitely want to talk about some of these official visitors that'll be in town in the 2020 class. But of course, I'm going to talk about Brock Vandagriff later on in the video. He committed to Georgia yesterday on Tuesday. Big five-star guy and a guy who could really help Georgia's recruiting class in 2021 become just as good as Georgia's recent recruiting classes, including this 2020 class, which has a shot to be #1 in the country. So a lot to talk about today. Of course, I do want to jump in and talk about these official visitors. Georgia has a few this upcoming weekend, with two of them being verbal commitments in five-star tackle Broderick Jones and four-star center Cedric Van Pran. Still haven't been able to figure out what the pronunciation is there. But going back to Broderick Jones, he took an official visit to Arkansas this past weekend to see his buddy Sam Pittman. He is at Illinois today through Friday. One of the coaches up there was one of the first to offer Broderick. He thought it'd be a good idea to go up and give them one final look, I guess as a thank you, or trying to make sure and keep all of his options open, as it were. But Broderick will be taking his official visit to Georgia this weekend, followed by his official visit to Auburn the final weekend before signing day. He's been a long-time Georgia commitment. I believe it's on 1.5 years now, but he has opened things up a little bit. He's taken multiple visits to Auburn this fall, including one to the Iron Bowl, and Auburn has really been a team on his mind. But at the end of the day, from what I'm hearing, I do think Georgia will be able to hold on to Broderick Jones and sign him in February. That's what I'm expecting to happen. And I think the Georgia staff, including new offensive line coach Matt Luke, will probably do their best to roll out the red carpet and really shut things down this weekend on his official visit. But it's all going to come down to those visits. This one this weekend to Georgia, and then to Auburn the final weekend of signing day. So there could be a little drama involved with Broderick Jones, but I am expecting right now for Georgia to hold on to him and sign him in February. As it relates to Cedric Van Pran, he does have his official visit to Georgia this weekend, and he will finalize his visits next weekend when he takes his official visit to Florida the weekend before signing day. I do think Georgia has a pretty comfortable lead right now. I think the family is very open to the thought of him playing for Matt Luke. I think they like Matt Luke. They're on board with him. And I think Georgia's going to try to finalize that and make sure he's 100% on board this weekend to maybe try to cancel that Florida official visit. But right now, he is set to visit Florida that final weekend before signing day. But like Broderick Jones, he will be on campus this weekend for an official visit. Again, I think Georgia does have a comfortable lead here, and I think there's a very good chance that they hold on to him, sign him in February, and without that drama towards the end. I know he's got that Florida official visit. Maybe they blow him out of the water and he, thinks last minute about the Gators, but I think the family is over the process. They're ready for it to be done. I think Cedric is all in, wants to be a Bulldog, but he does have that official visit to Florida the week before signing day. Again, I'm expecting Georgia to hold on to both Broderick Jones and Cedric Van Pran. Georgia has 19 signees, 6 early enrollees. Obviously, those 2 verbal commitments that I think they're going to hold on to will make 21. So there are a few spots still open. Georgia offered some in-state guys in 2020 this week. One of them was they offered DJ Lundy a few weeks ago, the big athlete out of Irwin County. But Kirby Smart, I believe it's Todd Hartley, and I think Dan Lanning all made an in-home visit with Lundy. I believe it was on Monday. It was earlier this week. And it might have been actually last week, but Lundy told me that he has an official visit set up to Georgia this upcoming weekend. Not really sure if he has a committable offer just yet. I do think with those final 2 or 3 slots in this 20 class that Georgia wants to get a defensive back and bring him in. They have 2 early enrollees in the secondary, Jalen Kimber, Major Burns, obviously 5-star Keely Ringo, but I do think they want to add a 4th in that group. Ennis Rakestraw, he plans to take his official visit to Georgia the weekend of the 31st, right before signing day. He's a 3-star cornerback out of Duncanville, Texas. I think Alabama leads here right now, and Nick Saban went in home with him just a couple days ago. I believe he's taking his official visit to Alabama this weekend, and then the final weekend will be to Georgia. Right now, I think Alabama has the lead, but he's still a guy to keep an eye on. Another member of the secondary is Avonte Williams. He will be taking his official visit to Georgia, again, the weekend of the 31st. Not exactly sure where he is going this weekend. I think Florida currently leads. He's got a lot of ties to the Gators, a lot of connections there. He's a Florida kid, 4-star defensive back, and one of the top, uncommitted or unsigned defensive backs in the country. So that's looking like a Georgia-Florida battle. I think the Gators currently lead, but you never know. With Georgia hosting those two guys for official visits the final weekend of signing day, they're going to try to do their best to get one of those guys. But going back to this weekend, DJ Lundy, out of Irwin County, told me he will take his official visit to Georgia this weekend. And I asked him what position Georgia's recruiting him to play, and he said they're going to let me pick, whether it's running back or linebacker. I don't really believe that 100%. I think they like him at linebacker. They only have one signee right now in Mikael Sherman. So if spots are open and they want to take DJ Lundy, I think they've got a really good shot, but I think they'll play him at linebacker instead of running back. But you never know. They only have one signee at running back too, in Kendall Milton. So I think there is a nice little chance that Georgia might take a flyer and accept this kid, DJ Lundy, who's a really good athlete. I saw him play live in the state championship game. But he's a player. He can play both running back and linebacker, and those are two positions where Georgia would like to continue to provide depth there. So definitely a guy to keep an eye on. Cameron, let me look at his name real quick. The defensive lineman from Collins Hill just got offered earlier this week. Again, I think Georgia wants to take another defensive lineman in this class. That we're going to take Zykevious Walker. He was going to have a spot in this class. He chose Auburn. Obviously, Jordan Birch chose South Carolina. So there is a position open on the defensive line. And I think the kid out of Collins Hill, who Kirby visited, I believe on Monday night, he said he would take his official visit this weekend. So he becomes another guy to keep an eye on there. So another in-state kid. So there's a lot of options, basically. And again, they've got 21 if you include Jones and Van Pran, which I will. So that opens up 2 to 3 spots. Ladd McConkey, big-time athlete out of North Murray. He got an offer from Georgia. I think Monday, Kirby went and saw him play basketball after they offered him earlier that day. He's a guy who's being looked at to play receiver, mainly that slot receiver, and a returning role. So he's a guy who could really help a lot of teams. Doesn't have a ton of offers, but Georgia did extend an offer to him this week. So he's another guy to keep an eye on. He will take his official visit to Georgia the 31st. So if some of these spots really open up, I definitely think you could see a guy like DJ Lundy or Ladd McConkey kind of sneak into this class. But overall, it's come together nicely, and if Georgia closes the way they should and the way they can, they should be in the running to make a strong run at that number 1 class. If it's not number 1, it'll probably be number 2. But again, Georgia will bring in a top 2 class in 2020. All right, moving on to 21. Georgia had a ton of top 2021 targets in town this past weekend. Obviously, we've talked about it a lot on Dawg Post, on these riding homes, but I did want to talk about Brock Vandegrift a little bit. He's a 5-star guy, 5-star kid, local, big arm. He can move. I wouldn't call him a dual threat quarterback, but he's a guy who is mobile and he can escape the pocket and run, but he's a pass-first guy. His arm talent is off the charts. He's a winner, coach's son. He plays a position well, very technically sound, good footwork. He's got the arm strength. He's got the accuracy. The kid's a player, and everyone knows him in the 21 class. Everyone wants to play with him, and this was a really, really big deal. Obviously, 5-star tackle Amarius Mims was with him, and he told me shortly after Brock committed that Brock was recruiting him while they were on their visit to Georgia this past weekend. So Brock's in everyone's ear already. He already has his recruiting hat on. He's going to try to bring in some of these elite linemen that are in the state of Georgia, like Amarius Mims, like Micah Morris, like Terrence Ferguson. So it'll be interesting to see how many other 2021 targets jump on board in the next few weeks. But Georgia has their quarterback of the future. The quarterback room should look pretty good moving forward. And it always helps to have a 5-star on board helping recruit for that class, which is exactly what Brock Vandegrift plans to do. So again, lots going on. Georgia's doing very well in 21. They could pretty much clean up and lock down the state of Georgia if they want in that 21 class. I believe Georgia leads for the top 5 players in the state of Georgia in 21, according to the Dawg Post rankings that I have over on Dawg Post. So, like they did in 2016 and 2017, if Kirby wants to put a fence around Georgia and lock down the state, he could very well do that in the 21 class. So, that's really all, guys. Lots of big official visitors in 2020 this weekend. Georgia's going to look to close strong, get that #1 class, and then push forward with the help of Brock Vandegrift to build another elite class in 2021. Thanks for watching. If I missed any of your questions, please hit me up through Twitter, email, but it's best if you go on to Dawg Post, because that's where we'll all be. We're pumping out content right now. Lots of big recruiting news happening. Make sure you're on Dawg Post for these weeks leading up to signing day. It's going to be a big deal. We're going to be there ready to answer all your questions. So make sure you head on over to the site. Thanks for watching the video, and I will see you guys next time.